Welcome again, everybody, and thanks, Haley, for that introduction. And we're going to spend just a couple of seconds here introducing ourselves, and then we're going to turn our cameras off for when we get into the content and the demonstration that you're going to see here today. But I am joined today by my colleagues and Haley's colleagues as well, Michael Velasquez and Mike Fernandez. Michael Velasquez is our Senior Technical Product Manager. Many of you have potentially met him in the past, and he's going to be doing our demonstration. Mike Fernandez is our head of product, and he and his team have been working really hard to bring this product to market, and we look forward to sharing with you and kind of help you understand where it fits in the worlds of AP, specifically as it relates to Business Central. Mike, feel free to say hi. Welcome the audience.
Hello, everyone.
Whatever you'd like to.
Thanks for joining us.
Definitely. Thank you for being here.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. So the content that we're going to cover today is really around what we're seeing in the AP space, the AP market, and the shift, kind of the revolution, if you will, of traditional AP to decentralized AP to cloud and all of the things that go along with that. We're going to share some industry research that support AP challenges and benchmarks and potentially some costs and bottlenecks that might be holding organizations back. If you're in the mode of building your business case, this information could come in handy. And then we're going to introduce you to SimplyAP from an overview standpoint and then demonstration. And then we'll wrap with some benefits and time for Q&A. And don't forget, Summit. We want to see you at Summit as well. So with that, I'm going to turn my camera off and we're going to move into the content. Guys, feel free to do the same if you would like to. We will make time for questions at the end just to make sure that we can maximize your screen real estate here, but maybe turn our cameras back on when we get to the end. So in diving into this, what's going on in the market, this digital shift that I'm referring to here, what we're seeing is that, and this started, friends, before the pandemic, okay? But in the course of the last couple of years, many of us have seen even greater adoption of these types of movements within our back office operations, specifically AP. We're seeing a digital shift. It started with the concept of decentralized accounting. You know, we used to all come to the same building pretty much every day. Just so happens I'm in our building today. You may have seen our background here. But I'm probably one of 5 people in the office today. Maybe you can relate if your company doesn't have everybody, you know, back in the office. But what came with that decentralized movement is that a lot of budget owners, invoice owners, so to speak, were then receiving invoices at wherever they were working, right? From their home office, from the beach, from the Starbucks, whatever. And they were coding and approving those invoices and sending them in to the AP team. Now, when you're in a remote office, you have obviously a lot more access to the company resources to help facilitate that. But when everybody went home, this proved to be a huge challenge. And so having digital movement, digital access to be able to send invoices in, have visibility, get them to the AP team with the proper coding and whatever approvals were required became a real challenge. And so decentralized accounting is certainly something that is moving a lot of organizations toward the need for automation. Okay, the remote workforce goes hand in hand with that to some extent, but again, once the pandemic hit, it was a requirement for many of us for a number of years. In fact, most organizations that were sending anybody into the office were the AP team, or at least somebody related to AP or finance. Somebody had to go pick up the invoices, right? Pick up the checks, pick up the envelopes, and then take them back to whatever process they needed to move that invoice forward, shipping, scanning, emailing, or whatever the case might be. And what happens is it's taking time for vendors to change their practices to get those invoices into the system or to the AP team, understanding now that everybody's remote. So it created an element of complexity while convenient for many of us because we didn't have a choice. It also created another element of complexity that without automation brought some teams literally to a halt. Then the next thing is the concept of subscription purchasing. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, this is great because, you know, I have a corporate card and I can charge all of the things with the vendors that I work with, and a lot of your team, your budget owners, your invoice approvers may have that same type of experience. So it's convenient, but is it good for the company? Well, sometimes yes, sometimes no. The reality is that if your organization has vendor relationships with certain providers, you might be getting a better deal. You might be getting a wholesale rate. You might have negotiated discount purchasing power. But if every invoice owner or budget owner has their own card and they can order from whoever, wherever, this adds an element of complexity, especially if you don't have visibility into what they're buying and who they're buying it through. So visibility and communication is key here. And then, of course, cloud adoption is certainly a shift that we've seen over the last couple of years. And I have to tell you, friends, when the pandemic started, we had more phone calls working with even current customers are just saying, how can we move this to the cloud so that our IT team isn't as burdened by all the things that they then had to manage before with servers and infrastructure and all of that. So certainly cloud adoption has facilitated a lot of move to automation, specifically in the back office operations like accounts payable. So what does that look like as we think about artificial intelligence as part of this process? Well, what we're seeing with many of our customers and working with partners is that AI is really becoming an expectation, but a lot of organizations don't know exactly where that's going to fit for their process. So we're going to give you some examples here, and then we're going to show you what it looks like specifically within SimplyAP. So the role of AI in accounts payable is really taking data extraction and machine learning to a whole new level where you can gain confidence that the data being extracted is accurate at whatever level of confidence that is. Maybe it's perfect, maybe it's need a little bit of check, maybe it needs a little bit more work, maybe the system needs to learn, but you're going to know that right away, and the system is going to learn over time. Now, think about that from the perspective of many of you have probably seen, what we'll call traditional OCR systems or OCR solutions. Maybe they have a third-party interface. Maybe it takes a really long time to set up and train them. All of those elements now take a lot of time, or did take a lot of time. When you have AI-powered OCR, it's really a game changer. And you'll see how, when we get to the demonstration, how that comes to life. Of course, number two here, AI saves time by reducing data entry. Like we just talked about, number one challenge for 74% of AP professionals, again, you may be one of them, is that they're doing that data entry by hand. They're working off either paper or an email that's been scanned or a PDF document or whatever that they've downloaded. But AI takes that manual step away almost entirely, and in some cases, absolutely 100% end to end. This creates more efficiency, and it gives that visibility. Again, number two challenge or so that we talked about a moment ago, for everyone involved in the process, regardless of where they are. And finally, the AI built into the AP automation solution really reduces that setup and services cost. So that challenge that we talked about a moment ago, that number two challenge of getting over the budget hurdle within your organization, is that can be taken away completely with AI built into your AP automation, because there is no, I need to train the vendor card, I need to set up the OCR template, I need to create zones and put things in certain places. It's all going to be taken care of for you with AI built into your AP automation solution. And things like usage-based pricing is really designed to scale to meet any budget. So a lot of companies that we're working with right now come to us and say, we never thought we'd be able to afford something this sophisticated with our budget, but with AI built in, there's no need for all of that manual intervention. With everything hosted in the cloud, there's no need for that IT resource drain that we spoke about earlier. And with a usage-based pricing model, it gives you the ability to scale and get up and running very quickly, because it's all really included in the solution. So that's the background of setting the stage for what we're going to show you in terms of SimplyAP. And if you're building your business case right now, leverage these data points as you need to sell this internally. The idea that, it's not a matter of if anymore, it's when and how fast. And a lot of customers tell us that as well. For this next section of the webinar discussion, I'm going to turn it over to Mike Fernandez, our head of product, who's going to give an overview of what all this means in the context of SimplyAP, our new cloud AP automation solution for Business Central. Mike?
Great, thanks, Mary. And those were some interesting stats and just some really good data points. I think all of us would probably agree that, based on all those AP automation solutions that we delivered in the past, that it's pretty accurate in terms of, how long it takes to get these systems up and running, the OCR, how challenging it was, even after you configured all those templates to get them up and running. It's still, all it took was a vendor to change a the format of their invoice, and all of a sudden you have to go and retrain and redo all these templates. So really good, interesting points there that you presented. So I'm going to take you a little bit through a little bit of the SimplyAP and some of the benefits that it'll offer. And today, as we look at SimplyAP, and Mary highlighted, is we want to look at all those capabilities in an AP automation solution that really allow you to be more efficient. And today we're really excited about SimplyAP because it's born in the cloud. It's not necessarily something that was on-prem that then somebody ported to the cloud. It really is born in the cloud, and that really offers a lot of capability with AI, for example, being built into the system that will really enable a lot more advanced features to modernize that AP automation process that we need to enable more efficient processing of those invoices and faster processing of those invoices. So when we look at in terms of automation of the AP processes, SimplyAP has certain capabilities in there that, for example, enables touchless process, so that as soon as an invoice comes in, based on a little bit of configuration, especially for purchase order invoices, where it can be completely touchless, and within a few minutes, the invoice is actually created in Business Central, ready to be processed and paid, right? So very powerful capabilities there as part of the product. The other part is, because the AI is built into the product, think of all that data that it's extracting. And we kind of think of extraction of the data as just data entry, right? Or removing data entry. But it really shifts the role now from someone having to do all that data entry to more of a validation step, right? If there is any human intervention that's required, now somebody's really going through and just validating what the AI is actually extracted for the invoice. But also a lot of automation is driven as a result of that AI processing. Scaling to your needs, so as SimplyAP is born in the cloud, it can scale and grow to your needs without having to purchase or think about hardware that it needs to purchase. So if you're processing more invoices, it's not going to get bogged down because it's born in the cloud. It's native to the cloud. It's just going to scale. And our pricing model is based on usage based. So you're only going to be paying for the number of invoices that you process, right? So that's another additional benefit. Security and ease of use was one of the major goals of what we were trying to achieve when we were building the product. So we'll show you a little bit of this in the demo. But one of the nice things is the credentials. The same credentials that you're using for Business Central is what you're going to be using for SimplyAP. Any of the Azure AD policies is going to be adhered to, because you're going to be authenticating based on those policies. And we've also invested a lot in the user experience. So while we have made it touchless, and automated, so in some scenarios you may not ever need to interact with the UI. In those cases that you do, because there are going to be exceptions, or there's going to be potentially invoices that approvers and the AP team is going to have to code. We want to ensure that the user experience was very easy to use, it was efficient and fast, so that you could process those invoices very, very quickly. And then in terms of integration with BC, we also wanted it to be integrated. If you're familiar with some of our GP solutions, we're very integrated with GP, and we wanted to have that same capability and level of integration with Business Central as well, right? Because that enables validation, enables us to retrieve certain information from Business Central into SimplyAP. So we wanted to ensure that the integration was seamless, easy to do as well. So you'll see that in the demo that you can easily access the documents, those invoices from Business Central. You'll be able to have visibility into exactly what was done during that process, who did what when, right? That's all available within the product. So it's very, very easy and seamless. And then lastly is time to solution. Just kind of going back to those stats of like how long it actually took to configure those templates, how long it actually takes to configure a process, how long it takes to deploy a solution, right? A lot of times we're talking months worth of effort to, from the time of purchase to actually being able to get up and running with your solution. And we're going to be able to show and talk, when we talk about SimplyAP, how that drastically changes. Where now we're going from months to potentially, if you can dedicate some time, we can have you up and running within a day, from being able to sign up, configure, and send invoices in and start processing them. That's how simple it is. It literally is like 3 steps to get up and running. So faster time to solution is really important because, as they say, time is money, and we want to enable that automation as quickly as possible so you can get up and running quickly. Self-service. So we also want to enable you, the customer, to be able to go in there and do some configuration on your own. And then also after you are up and running, you want to be able to potentially manage some of this yourself, or maybe leverage your partner to maybe help you do so. If you change your process a little bit, you or your partner can help go into SimplyAP and be able to make those changes yourself. Of course, our team is available and ready to help at any time. So it's not like you're going to be on your own, or your partner is going to be on your own. We're going to be there providing the support you may need at any point in time through either online help. We're going to have integration where you can interact with our support team right from within the product as well. So we're going to be a step away from providing you help if you need any. Next slide, please, Mary. So let's take a look at some of the processes that are deployed automatically and available for you to use immediately, because this helps with that time to solution, as well as some of that automation that's available within the product. In this one, the example that I'm showing you here is that straight through process for purchase order invoices. So you created a purchase order in Business Central. You've already agreed in a way that purchase order is a contract between you and the supplier or vendor in terms of, here's what I'm buying, here's how much I'm paying for it. So with SimplyAP, we're going to, from the very process, we're going to be able to receive those invoices. So you're going to have a mailbox, an email address that you'll be able to forward those invoices to. Our automated machine learning AI capability is going to extract those invoices. We're going to be able to retrieve the purchase order invoices from Business Central along with all the receipts. So if the information, if those items have been received in Business Central, we're going to match all that data, and based on a tolerance level that you configure in the product. So let's just say it's if as long as it doesn't exceed a certain percentage or a certain amount, then what will happen is it'll automatically get created in Business Central. So think of, from the time the invoice comes in to it's actually created inside of Business Central, could happen within a few minutes. That's how fast it could be. But of course, we also have different options as well. Some people may not be ready for all that automation. They may want to have a step in there that says, if it doesn't, even though it meets all that criteria, I still want to have a final review, within my AP team potentially to kind of look at those invoices. That's fine. Or if you want to have maybe a manager review those before it gets created in Business Central, that's fine too. We can have that final review before it gets created in Business Central. And then of course, if it doesn't, if it's over those tolerances that you've configured in the system, you can also have it go through an approval process. So then it goes through Corp AP, or AP department, where they can look at these invoices and then potentially send it around for approval because it's outside of the thresholds that you've configured in the system. So you can be as automated or have a little bit of checkpoints if you choose to, and that's all very easy to configure within SimplyAP. And if you can go to the next process here is, very similar to what I just described, but now it may not be a purchase order invoice, but now maybe an invoice that doesn't have a purchase order. And same process. It's going to come into the system very fast. It's going to extract that data. But now this is where the AP team comes in, and it's also that shift that I mentioned earlier, where the AP team is not necessarily doing a lot of data entry, but ideally it's going to be validating what the data was extracted by the AI, right? There might be some final coding that needs to be done as well, or some coding that will be done by the AP team. And then what they'll do is just select the first person that will be approving that invoice. And then based on the configuration of the application in terms of those thresholds that you configure for each user, it'll automatically route those invoices around for approval. And then again, it'll auto create these invoices unposted inside of Business Central. So again, very simple, very fast processes that can be implemented within Business Central. And this is available as soon as you sign up. This is part of almost one of those 3 steps that we mentioned earlier. You're going to get up and running and just configure a few things, and guess what? You're going to be processing invoices. Next slide, please. Just to talk a little bit about the administration aspects of the product, because it really comes down to three things: security, making it seamless in terms of integration with your Business Central application, and then making it simple, right? So we're integrated into Azure. So from a security perspective, all the authentication is done within within Azure. So you can turn your users on and off there. If your organization has policies in terms of passwords and how often user needs to log in, that is all controlled within Business Central. We're going to delegate that responsibility to Azure to do that. From a seamless perspective, as I mentioned earlier, it's all integrated, available through App Source, the SimplyAP extension. You deploy it. It's very lightweight, and then it's going to have complete integration both ways between Business Central and SimplyAP. So you'll be able to, you'll have, you'll see this in the demo, and when Michael Velasquez shows this to you, you'll actually be able to see all the companies, enable the companies you want. It's very lightweight. There's no import export. The system automatically handles everything for you. And it's simple to configure. So it's very simple to set up those processes that I mentioned earlier. It's basically just configuring users and some thresholds, turning companies on and off, which users you want associated with a certain company. We have self-guided tours that you can access at any point in time. And even for end users, we also provide some in-help tips as well, and product guides as well. So how to be able to process some invoices. So it's all within the application, very easy to administer and configure. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Michael Velasquez, because I know this is the part that you're all excited to see is, all right, show me the product of everything you're talking about. So Mr. Velasquez, take it over.
No pressure.
No pressure.
No, thanks a
You
lot.
got
Thank you. It laid a lot of good groundwork for what we're going to be able to show here today. And speaking of that, these are the demo scenarios that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the two main things that Mike mentioned is the actual AP process itself, an invoice coming in, matching it to a PO, potential routing for review, submitting it for approval and auto creation into BC. That could be an extremely fast process, as Mike said, if you do want to take advantage of the auto matching, but it could also, be something that you can tailor to your own process based on your approval routing that you can configure in the second portion of what Mike was talking about. So I'll go into a little bit of the administration side of SimplyAP and show you how easy it is and how quick that time to solution really is. How fast you can get up and running. Gone are the days of 3-month backlogs of service engagements and dealing with that entire process of getting up and running. This can be ideally up within a day or a couple days, depending on your IT prowess and your resources. So
Speaking of a good fit, I have to share with you benefits that other customers of ours have achieved over the years, but also as they're starting to use this solution with SimplyAP with Business Central. So the number one thing that we talked about at the beginning, if you recall, the challenges, that data entry, it's number one pain point for 74% of AP professionals. As you saw with what Michael Velasquez displayed, there was no data entry. Anything that he added or coded or needed to edit even was something that potentially needed a validation, a human interaction point of validation, or to correct something that maybe was a little bit lower confidence in the data extraction step. So it really enables you to take that data entry off the table and get back to the jobs that we're all here to do, that our day job, so to speak, so that we can apply those things to financial analysis and reporting and predicting our corporate spend and all of those sorts of things. So that reduces the overall cost of your AP by up to 80%. And we've got research and customer success that can validate this in the context of the cost of paper, the time that it takes to go through the process. 50% of AP staff teams is spent on looking for documents. And especially now that we're not in the office, we don't even maybe have access to them if they're not already digital or in an automated system like this. Fast time to solution, moving to the next row here of benefits. We talked about it at the beginning, and hopefully you saw it in the course of the demonstration, where you can be up and running by, in just a few minutes, as long as you have those credentials and access to the information. Again, we're here to help if you need it. Your partners will be able to help you if you need that. But a lot of companies, we think, will be able to get started pretty much on their own. Industry best practices for workflows. You saw those scenarios that Michael described, where this is the process of the invoice for a purchase order related invoice, and this is the process for a non-purchase order related invoice. But as Mike showed us in those process flows, you have a little bit of configurability, as it were, based on your requirements in your business process. And you gain that complete visibility. And I have to share with you, the example when Michael went back and showed you the history on that one view where he logged back in after he went into Business Central, clicked on the view, and then went to the history tab. Audit trail, audit time comes. That trail is going to be so important. We have customers today that just need an auditor license, so to speak, or the ability for AP to sit down next to the auditor and say, hey, show me every invoice that was paid to this vendor in this date range. Show me the process that it went through. After just a few invoice reviews in that step, they're able to go, okay, you're doing what you say you're going to do, you're in compliance with your process, and you have a documented digital audit trail along with the image right there for you to access right there in SimplyAP. So it saves a ton of time and money even for your audits as well. Thank you, Mike and Michael and Haley, for your participation and facilitation of today's discussion. We are at the top of the hour now, so we're going to thank everybody and wish you that you have a great day and be in touch soon. Visit our website to learn more or reach out.